So far we've talked about content creation, and you'll find a link for that pop up right there. And then we got into content curation, and you'll see a link for that pop up there as well. If you haven't watched those yet, make sure you do. Maybe before you watch this one, before you continue on. I don't think that's really necessary. So let's talk about connection here in terms of what social media and social media literacy means in terms of the kinds of connections that we make. And first off, we probably need to talk about the idea of what kind of connections you already have. And chances are, if you're a social media file, then you've got a lot of friends involved. You've got Instagram friends and Facebook friends and LinkedIn connections and so on. And I don't mean to burst your bubble here, but I'm hoping that you know that they're not all your friends, right? There are some people on there you just don't know, you're not close to. We really don't have 1,200 friends. We have a handful of them that we're close to, perhaps, that we go through and have some type of interaction with outside of social media. But that's about it. There's a theory postulated a while ago called the monkey sphere, and it was a study of primates, monkeys, that once they got to about 30 individuals within a group, if another monkey would try to join that particular group, I don't know if it's born into the group or adopted into the group or whatever, but as soon as they reached a certain number, if another one would try to join, the group would split in half, okay, roughly, and form two new pods, like a mitosis kind of a thing going on. The monkey sphere just would not withstand anything over a certain number, and that might be because they have only limited resources as far as food or how they who knows. Okay, we're no different there than those primates in terms of our own human spheres and friends. So for us to think that we're making some huge connections outside of maybe the YouTube channel that's going viral, and we have thousands of connections going on there. Let's not kid ourselves. Those are just people maybe who have watched your clip for a few seconds or chiming in maybe and commenting. But there's no real relationships there, right? Those are connections, right? And we love social media to go through and give us those connections. No amount of marketing before social media could ever go through and give us the immediate access to a certain and specific demographic of people like Facebook can. It could zone us right into the types of people we want to have hear our messages, and for very little money to do so. It's taken the whole madman idea of advertising and turned it on its ear, really, because we have very powerful tools that enable us to go through and get our messages out to connect with people that we know we might have some kind of immediate response with in terms of marketing our business, our photography company, our kayaking touring company, by whatever it is. You have that ability to do that, right? Those are great connections. There's some connections, though, that we need to be very careful of, and those are those connections that become exploitative. Now, we'll probably talk about this more when we get into the idea of privacy. Second or third, I think, in the queue in terms of the what we're going to be talking about in social media this semester. But we need to understand that as soon as we've drawn somebody into our own social media circle and we've allowed them access to what we're posting up, they can take that content. They can copy, they can screenshot it, they can share it, they can do something with that content and put that out there. And we need to be careful of who it is that we're going through and making friends with. Who are those connections? Who are we allowing on? Social media is all about that big network, but there are people who know how to go through and exploit those big networks, and then before you know it, your bank account's been hacked into. You're getting a little 99-cent charge because they know now that you watch your movies, you subscribe to iTunes, and so there's a bogus iTunes charge that shows up for 99 cents on your bank account. It goes through because you're thinking, yeah, I paid that for a download of a song. And then the next one comes through at $1.67, and then the next one comes through for $5, and then before you know it, you've got a $275 iTunes charge from some bogus company that looks like iTunes, right? And how they got there was through some type of a friend connection that exploited you through iTunes or through Instagram or Facebook or whatever. So don't let just anybody who's friending you in. It sounds inane to have to go through and put that kind of advice out there, because it's kind of a common sense, no-brainer thing. We've all gotten way too trusting, and at the risk of me sounding like I'm totally paranoid, yeah, I am a little bit more so than I ever have been, I think, in terms of how our content can be copied and distributed and repurposed, in fact, for what it is that we've decided to do. So be careful of the connections that you're making. And remember that you are also going to be evaluated by the connections that you have, okay? In working in federal and state government and working with those agencies, when they do background checks on you, if you happen to be going down that route, not only are they background checking what's happening with you and your social media, but they have access to who all of your connections are within those. And we're only a few connections away from somebody who we might not want to be connected to there, just in terms of maybe going through and representing who we are. Gosh, that didn't sound very nice, but you know what? It's not very nice anymore. You just don't know. So be careful, okay? So those three areas: content creation, watch what you're reposting, content curation, it's never going to go away. It's always out there. And then the connections that we're making, let's be careful. Let's raise our literacy to a point to where we're a little bit better protected in what's going on. All right? Okay. Thanks for joining me. Talk to you later.